Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. Oh, I feel like this big weight has been lifted from my shoulders now that season 1 is done. Still lots of questions before we start season 2, but we're not ready for season 2 yet because we have OVAs. So I have set aside this week to be Titan Week, to stay on track and try to catch up as soon as I can with the seasons up until season 4 comes out. I just wanted to do all the OVAs this week and then start season 2 over the weekend like I normally would. So we've got, there's 4 OVAs. Well, there's technically 5 OVAs. You've got Distress, A Strange Visitor, you have No Regrets Part 1, No Regrets Part 2, and Ilse's Notebook. So I am watching the 2 that are the most non-canon, but still I'm very interested in, of the OVAs, which is Distress and Sudden Visitor, or Strange Visitor, Sudden Visitor. I'm not exactly sure the title of the second one. I know the first one's Distress, that we're going to watch. And so I've been told that Distress deals with something that was happening during the 104th Regiment, so when Aaron and them were all still training, and I've heard that Strange Visitor or Sudden Visitor has to deal with Jean's backstory, which I'm really excited about. So I wanted to watch them together, and then after this I'll be watching No Regrets, parts 1 and parts 2 together, and finishing up with Ilse's Notebook before I do my recap of season 1, and then before we start season 2. So I'm pretty excited about it, to say the least. But yeah, finding these OVAs has been hard. You can find them on a sketchy site. So I'm very happy I have a new computer that hopefully will hold up against it. But I'm really surprised because honestly, you know, with Funimation and Free, for example, all the free movies are on Funimation, and then you can watch the series on Crunchyroll with the English subtitles. So it's weird how licensing works. A lot of you had said that the OVAs for this series were like manga exclusives that came out with the manga, or just happened to premiere this one time, never to be seen or heard of again. I'm like, that seems like such a terrible marketing strategy, because if you have a series like this that has so much popularity, you would think that these would have their own $20 Blu-ray by now that you could just go buy. I would pay the I seriously looked for Blu-rays. That was the first thing I did, because I'm like, okay, these OVAs are not on Crunchyroll, they're not on Funimation, they're not on Amazon or Netflix. Let's see if they're on Blu-ray. No! And I'm like, really? I would honestly have paid you money, Funimation, if you had just put it out on Blu-ray. I would have even watched the dubbed version if I had to. But no. Instead, I got to go to this sketch site that's got hentai everywhere and hope that, that I can watch it. So, thanks. But I am really excited. I guess my point is that there may be a little editing with this reaction. If stuff pops up on the screen and I have to pause the reaction, that may happen. So if it kind of jumps or glitches on the reaction, like it's doing now, it's trying to give me an ad, then you all will know why. But yeah, I'm really excited to see these 2 OVAs. Back in the simpler days, right? Back in the simpler times when Aaron and all of them were just training and people weren't getting eaten or stomped on by Titans. Those were the good old days. So I'm pretty excited about these OVAs this week. I hope you all are too, but let's watch these 2 tonight and see what's up. So we're gonna start with Distress. I'm pretty excited. And I have no clue what to expect out of these OVAs. They're the same length as an episode, which is good. But yeah, we're gonna start this here in 3, 2, 1, and get this on here right. Oh gosh, and it's like when pop up all the ads. Let's go. So before we start, I want to go ahead and say that I actually, the website messed up. It told me it was Distress that we were starting with, and it turned out to be Ilse's Notebook. So fun times. So I ended up watching Ilse's Notebook first as the OVA instead of Distress and Strange Visitor, which is fine. We're still going to talk about it, but I wanted to go ahead and preface that going into this reaction, I thought we were watching Distress, and then as the reaction started going on, I was like, wait, this is not Distress. This must be Ilse's Notebook. So still a lot of fun, but I just want to tell you guys that up front. So enjoy the reaction. Oh, okay. Well, that was a pleasant surprise for a lot of reasons. I clicked the site and it said OVA 1, and apparently that's not good enough. Apparently I need to specifically look for Distress and Strange Visitor because that took me to Ilse's Notebook, which, it being 3.5, I'm glad that I waited till the end of this season to watch it. If I had watched this right after episode 3, I would have been so lost. And I've been like, oh yeah, we've already met the Levi squad. I'm glad that I waited till the end of this season, not semester, till the end of the season, because it felt a lot better because we've known these characters, and it felt nice to go back and see Petra and Oro there and be like, oh yeah, remember when they were still alive? Good times. But okay, we need to talk about this and there's a storm brewing outside, so of course my dogs are probably gonna go crazy. You probably saw that lightning in the window. My dogs are scaredy cats with storms. But yeah, so I want to talk about some things in this OVA. One, hey guys, it's okay. It's all right. Charlie, it's okay, buddy. It's okay. So first thing I want to talk about is that we get a little bit of a timeline going on with this series. So they said it was the 49th mission, the 49th mission, and the 34th mission had been a year ago. So that means there's been like 15 missions in the past year, which is pretty crazy. And it kind of makes sense with the timeline. There'd be 15 missions, like one every so weeks, because there's only 52 weeks in a year, so one every couple of weeks, right? Not one a month, but maybe a little bit more than that. But that this does also establish that the 50th mission would have been the one where they captured Sonny and Bean. So cool, awesome, good to know. But I like the established timeline of not only the missions and how they've gone, but that it's been 15 years since they've captured a Titan, which would have put that right around the time Eren was born. So I wonder if there's any significance to that, if the last time they captured a Titan was around the time that Eren was born. If that is of any significance, I'm very curious about that. That seems interesting. Hanji. I love that this was Hanji's OVA. Hanji is one of my favorite characters so far in this series because of, I know that Oro's like, she's insane. They're insane. But honestly, Hanji is so cool because of how unique they are in this show. Hanji is fearless. It's like the concept of a mad scientist if they were in the military and were actually fighting. Because normally the stereotypical mad scientist is like in the lab coat, they're stuck in the lab, they never leave, they don't have any athleticism, they're just the nerdy scientist that pushes up the glasses and has the beakers and does the crazy experiments, but they don't have any fighting power, right? And I love that Hanji is such a subversion of that trope because Hanji is the mad scientist, but they have fighting prowess and the ability to get stuff done and the know-how to use techniques that are really cool and the ingenuity to develop these, like the nets with the spikes, to develop technology to capture the Titans. And they're motivated. Hanji is so motivated to try to figure out what makes the Titans tick and how they function, that that's their sole purpose in life, is to kind of experiment and research. And I love that analogy that Hanji gives to Oro, and Oro's like, well, it's impossible. We can't beat the Titans. Why would we want to capture one? And Hanji like has him up, like choking him to death, and is like, if you face Levi, you think you're going to win? And he's like, no, it's impossible. And Hanji's like, then you're still going to fight, so what are you going to do? And I love the concept of do your research. You study them. You figure out everything that they eat, what they do, when they sleep, when they go to the bathroom, and you exploit any weakness you find, and that's how you win. And I love that mentality. It's so cool. It's so refreshing. I love seeing Hanji like give that analogy, and that kind of just shows the character development of Hanji and just what motivates them as a person. Like I have so much respect for Hanji after this season that I just can't wait to see more of them to come. And this was definitely their episode. I also want to talk about Annie Flowers brought this up, and we're going to bring it up in the recap and review, but this is a good time to bring it up too, about Erwin as a leader. Some of the best leaders I think that we've seen in the series are Erwin, Pixis, and Ian. They've been kind of our main three leaders. And then the backup, we've got Armin and Jean, which I argue are becoming good leaders. And Levi and Mikasa are kind of more like the military unit. Levi's kind of a leader. Mikasa can be leaderly if Eren's not involved, and then Eren's a terrible leader, so we're going to boot him out of this. But between Ian, Pixis, and Erwin, I definitely want to note between Pixis and Erwin specifically, at first glance, they seem like similar leaders, but they're actually very, very different. And Annie Flowers and I were talking about this in the comment for episode 20, I think. And she brought up the idea that she doesn't like Erwin as a character because Erwin, in her mind, isn't an effective leader. And I would argue that Erwin has good moments of leadership, but here's the problem with Erwin that I have, and I think Ani agreed with me, and Ani brought up a really cool point. Erwin is very stubborn and set in his ways. And him and Pixis both have the we're going to be a butcher mentality. Like, if it means saving mankind, we'll go down in history as a butcher. We don't care as long as mankind is saved. But Ani pointed out, and I totally agree with her, that the difference is that Pixis tries to do so with minimal casualties. Pixis, during the whole Trost incident, was trying to find a strategy that would be effective but would cut down casualty costs. So the idea of having the troops up on the wall, luring the Titans away, but from a safe distance, while Eren and them tried to move the boulder, that's an example of it. Erwin doesn't seem to care who dies as long as the mission gets accomplished. So we saw that in the season finale. The fact that all this collateral damage happened, all these people in Stohess died, and all Erwin did was say, my apologies. That's all he could offer. It was like, really? That's all you can say is my apologies when all this collateral damage has happened? And back in the Forest of the Giant Trees, back in episode 18, Erwin was willing, and I think that Ani agreed too, that Levi brought this up, that the rear vanguard died, and Levi wanted to make sure Erwin knew that. He's like, you know, your men died to bring this Titan here. And Erwin's like, is that so? Good deal. Like, Erwin doesn't seem to care what the cost is as long as there's a victory, which is a very different mentality than Pixis, who seem more focused on let's minimize the casualties but still get the job done. So I feel like those are two very different leadership forms. Erwin's, after watching towards the end of this, after seeing the season in full, Erwin's strategy and his leadership is a little more questionable, I think, than Pixis's. Because, and here's the other thing too, Pixis trusts his troops. He trusted in Ian that Ian would make a good decision. He's like, you do what you feel is right, and I know it will be right for us. And so he trusted his troops. Erwin doesn't trust his troops. So at the very beginning there, Hanji's trying to argue for researching and capturing the Titan, and Erwin's like, no. Like, Erwin doesn't have any, even though Hanji has proven that they're intelligent, that they have good strategies, good ideas, Erwin's like, no, not feeling it. And then at the end, when Hanji can provide some concrete evidence and like, yes, look at this notebook, look at these words, that's what it takes for Erwin to change his mind. But it's almost like it has to be on Erwin's terms. So that's really interesting. That leadership style is very interesting. And it's something I definitely want to look at going forward into season 2, because we'll likely see Erwin and hopefully we'll see Pixis again. So I thought that was really cool. So thank you, Ani, for bringing that up. That's a really good point. So yeah, that brings us to Ilse. Holy crap. So this Survey Corps member, Ilse, basically got thrown from their horse, got stranded from their comrades, and was just writing in the notebook as like a last will and testament, being like, these are my last words. I want to document this. So if anybody finds this notebook, you'll know my legacy, my history. And I like that she brings up one of the wings. There's 2 wings in the Survey Corps, the wings of freedom. And one of the wings, she says, is the wing that does not fear death. That's really, really cool. But yeah, so Ilse running into this big-headed Titan that revered her. Right? So said she was a person of Ymir. And I don't know what that means, a person of Ymir. I'm so fascinated. And her last name isn't Ymir, but the Titan like revered her and respected her. And so I'm like, was she related to somebody named Ymir and she just didn't realize it? There's so many questions. Because one, the Titans can talk. The Titans can talk. Is like, what the heck? The Titans talking is insanity. Like, not even Eren or Ani talk. They just scream and yell. But this Titan could form words around this girl. Say what? Say what? So Ilse clearly had no clue who Ymir was. So we don't know if they're related to him. If they're related to them, then the Titan, how did the Titan know that? Can the Titan, like, is it like Mike where they smell, can they smell DNA? I don't know. Can they sense things that humans cannot? Is it kind of like, is it something spiritual or divine? I don't know. Or is it how Ilse looked? Ilse had dark black hair and kind of freckles like Marco. Kind of. And like the one girl, the one girl that's with Krista all the time. But I mean, that's weird. It's weird. It's weird. I'm so curious who Ymir is now. Like, what the person of Ymir is. Ymir a place? Is Ymir a person? And they thought it was like a daughter of Ymir. I'm not going to look up what Ymir means because I feel like that'll give it away. So I'm not going to look that up. But that's interesting. The whole fact that the Titan can talk is still blowing my mind. I can't wrap my head around it. And then Ilse started asking it questions. And it got really frustrated and really angry. And when it started like moaning, I was like, maybe you shouldn't ask it any more questions because it doesn't seem to like that. But then she got so worked up and frustrated asking where they're from. And it just like was like it couldn't say. And then asking where it's from. Why does it eat people? And it couldn't say. So do all the Titans have this ability to talk? They just have to, or is it something like only certain ones, like an aberrant, can do? Or do they have to be around this person of Ymir for it to work? Or who they think is Ymir? Because she got it agitated and riled up enough that it kind of like just malfunctioned and then it just ate her. Which goes back kind of to Aaron's whole spiel in episode 21, where he got so enraged and frustrated that he was like, I'm going to tear you to shreds and eat you. And so I said in that reaction, I'm like, I wonder if that's the Titans' deal, is that they're just all these Titans are so consumed by rage for whatever reason that their go-to instinct is to eat to satisfy. It's kind of like, it's when you get stressed and you stress eat. You eat stuff to stop being stressed. I wonder, because Hanji and Ilse makes the point, they're like, you don't need to eat to survive, so why are you eating? I wonder for the Titans that's like a stress relief, and they're like, we have to eat to de-stress or to soothe this anger and rage. I don't know. I have so many questions. The fact that this is so weird that it happens, I guess, timeline-wise, between episodes 3 and 4, it makes sense. But content-wise, I'm like, this clearly needed to be saved for the end of the season. Because otherwise, if you hadn't watched the whole season, some of this stuff wouldn't hit the same way. And I have a feeling going back and rewatching it later, it's going to hit differently too. So, But yeah, Ilse, it bit her head off, and then it almost seemed like it realized it messed up. It was like, shit, I ate her. I killed her. And that was gruesome. Like her writing in the notebook up until the point where it decapitated her. And then he just put her in the hollow of the tree. Just kind of like revered the corpse. What the heck? I was going to save Ilse's notebook for last, but as it works out, it's the first thing I watch. So go figure. But yeah, that was crazy, y'all. Absolutely crazy. So yeah, fun times. I'm so curious, the Ymir thing. I'm so curious. Like, what is the deal? Why did this Titan care that they were a person of Ymir? It makes me wonder if there's like tribes, like different tribes of people, because we've established that this is Earth years and years and years later. So I'm wondering if there's like a certain tribe of people that maybe at one point controlled the Titans or created the Titans, or that the Titans are based off of, and it's like Ymir is a clan. Ymir is like a clan or a tribe of people, and that these are the descendants that the Titans can recognize as being of Ymir, so they're the descendants, and they're recognizing them. And that's who they... If the Titans will obey someone named Ymir, that would be insane. Like, if there's somebody that can control Titans and make them do things, that's a problem. That's a big problem. I hadn't thought about that. Like, if because that Titan seemed like it respected them and bowed, and even said at one point, Ymir-sama. Like saying, like, a dignitary, like, a respectful, like, oh, Sama, like, Ymir-sama, like, their master. If somebody like that can control Titans, holy crap, that would be a problem. A big, big problem. But, yeah, crazy. It was weird seeing Petra and Oro and Eld there again. It was weird because it's like, it was cool seeing them. And I got so worked up thinking Oro was going to die for a second. Then I'm like, wait, he dies later on. It's fine. It's fine. There's no stakes. But it's crazy for being an episode with no stakes as far as knowing who would die or not, because we know this happens in the past. It was still a really tense episode, I think, because we saw Ilse's perspective. And it's funny because we know Ilse's going to die too, because we saw the corpse at the beginning, but it's just the moments leading up to it. The tension was so well built, and it was so crazy and creepy that it was very, very effective. So, fun times. Fun times indeed. I'm so curious now, y'all. So curious. But yeah, I've got to figure out where the links are to Distress and Strange Visitor. I may get on Discord and ask you all, because I'm really nervous that I'm going to click the wrong OVA now, thinking that it's the right one, because these sketch sites. So I'm going to probably ask Discord to help me find the OVAs for Distress and Strange Visitor. But in the meantime, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below about Ilse's Notebook. This will probably air first then, so fun times. But I was going to save it for the last OVA, but it's going to be the first one up now. And then I'll probably do Strange Visitor and Distress next, and then round out with No Regrets before we do the recap and review. Just get some Levi fun before we do the recap and review. Let's do that. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please take care and stay safe. And let me know your thoughts down below. Please no spoilers, especially about this Ymir business, because I have a feeling that if it's coming up now and it's something this big, like with Titans talking, it's going to be huge. So please no spoilers, or tag me and say, Romania, don't read any further. But otherwise, stay safe, take care, and I'll be back soon with more Attack on Titan. Bye.